All right, here we go. Episode 77, Tracy Taylor. It's been 70 episodes since I've sat down with you. Seems just like yesterday.
It literally does. But we're almost at a year. Was it August or September?
Um, yeah, probably August.
It's close
It
enough.
was right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. So this will be, at the end of this month, it'll be 9 months that I've been releasing episodes. So I definitely started recording a little bit before. So yeah, I guess it was August. So I started in July. Yeah, August. So it's been like 9 months, 8 months.
Wow. It feels like yesterday. It truly
It
does.
really
It
does.
does. But it's probably also because we sit down and talk a lot anyway. We just don't record it.
Yeah, every day's a podcast.
Right.
That's how I feel with Justin Bricker.
Right. Like we lost the good stuff sitting at the table.
We just sat upstairs for like 2.5 hours, or at least an hour and a half, almost
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So episode
77 right now.
77. Wow. Well, cheers. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, dude. Cheers.
Absolutely. A little scotch.
A little scotch, a little Stella.
I'm a happy man.
Man, it's good vibes. I enjoy it. Last time we were fresh off of Worlds. Now we're just living life, man. But I got a ton of feedback because, like I called you earlier, you're like the samurai philosopher. You always have words of wisdom, dude.
Yeah.
Where's
That
that?
just means I've made more mistakes.
That is true. That is true. There was a quote that I heard. I'd have to look it up. It's on my phone. I wrote it down. But it was something like the best lessons come from like the worst decisions or something like that, or the best experiences come from I don't know.
God, that's absolutely true.
Something like it's something about bad decisions and good lessons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that my kids are geniuses when it's
Yeah.
all said and done with. Because I was a knucklehead, and I learned. I decided to change my ways. So I'm thinking every time I look at them and I feel like they're doing stupid stuff, you know,
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself in them?
oh, 100%,
Yeah, like when Hickson's doing something.
all the time. But that's also been the one of the best things ever for me. And Michelle will tell you this, the wife, for those that don't know, she will tell you that I will ask her, is there anything I can do better? Can I do more? Can I do the dishes more? Can I do laundry more? Do we need to go on more date? Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because I try to be a better version of myself every day.
What drives that? What's fueling that drive? Because I mean, I've been divorced, and like it's very easy to get complacent
Hmm.
and to not want to do better because
Sure.
you just feel like you're doing it.
I think it's probably a couple things. For one, I think I compete in all things.
Yeah.
Period. I like
Gotta be the best husband.
I hate losing more than I like winning. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's me.
That's a powerful statement that you just said.
I don't. It's not that I don't play not to lose. That's different.
That's how you lose.
That's how you lose.
You're gonna play to win.
100%. Play to win, but I hate losing more than I like winning. And it's not at an all cost, I'm going to cheat kind of thing because it doesn't mean anything if I had to cheat to get it. And somebody beat me, then you beat me fair and square. I'm going to shake your hand. Good for you. We're probably going to be friends, but I got a list. I'll make a list, and I'm okay with that.
What
And
do you mean, like you make a list?
Well, remember what was that Adam Sandler movie? And Steve Buscemi had that book, People to Kill, right? Like that.
Oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
just to get back at those
Oh
people.
yeah, oh yeah. Like if you submitted I remember being a white belt, and if you submitted me on Tuesday, I came back Thursday with like a gi that was like skin tight, and it would probably be the sleeves would be to my elbows, and the pants would be to my knees. They were short pants.
Yeah.
I wasn't giving you anything, but that's me, and I'd stand there in the corner like this, like fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah.
And I think about it. I probably didn't sleep. I just waited for that day to come back so I could get you. And but that's me in all things.
Yeah.
I'll be cool about it. I'll be chill about it, and then underneath it's just like,
It's just that fucking anger.
yeah, I'm just making plans.
Yeah, sometimes when I lose or I get tapped and I feel like I shouldn't, I'll look at that person like they don't see it, but there's this rage
Hmm.
that's
Yeah,
burning deep inside,
that's accurate.
like it's yelling.
Hmm.
It's just like I want to chop your head off right now.
Right. But it's more about, for me though, it's more about me than it is them.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily them. It's just like you're angry with yourself,
Sure.
and
Right.
they were just like the catalyst for that.
And that's a great way to put it, the catalyst. So now, I probably won't sleep for the next 2 days until we get to do it again, and I'm strategizing and plotting on your demise, even though it's not about them.
Hmm.
And you know, you're in the book of people I have to kill. But the question was why. So one, I compete, and I need to be a better version of myself, to be better every day. But two, I also just want to be a decent person
Yeah,
when it comes down to it. And if I can't be a decent person to the person that should be in your life every day, then I'm doing something wrong.
yeah,
So, my parents were pretty amazing, pretty influential. And when you have that great example in front of you every day, but you also know that they're human, you know, it's always an exercise in doing better. I was never blinded by necessarily the good and bad that my parents did. It was always kind of a even keeled. Without fail, my dad got my mother flowers every Valentine's Day.
yeah.
Didn't mean they didn't fight,
Oh yeah,
but I knew because of the person that he was. And so you met Chris Jenkins in Chicago,
yep,
the friend that helped Michelle put everything together for the birthday party in Chicago. Um, the running joke with Chris and I is that I always say that I'm flawed, and being flawed is part of my charm, and we will forever joke about that. And I fully believe that though. But I think within saying that, there's also things that go with that are also can be endearing because I know I'm flawed. I also means I need to work on myself.
yeah.
And I probably came up with that in jest, making fun of myself, because nobody's perfect.
Right. But that's like the right way to look at it. And I don't know if there's a right way, but it's like you could say, well, I'm flawed, so fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Like I'm just not gonna be a good person. Like I'm flawed. Who cares? Like that. You just use that as the excuse.
but we've all been there. We've all done that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I've done enough evil that I want to do right, or if I really I do want to be a good person. I do want to do better than I did the day before. And I feel like I also owe people. I know I don't owe people, but I know that there's people. I know that there's kids. I
Yeah.
have kids, and I know that I have an amazing family, and I even mean like cousins, aunts, uncles. I'm talking about like Guinness Book of Records, amazing people around me.
You have one of the biggest networks I've ever seen.
Man, my family is phenomenal. And you met my cousin Jabari.
Hmm.
Um,
Great dude.
he's truly one of my favorite people in life. DJ and also the assistant federal attorney general in Kansas. But you'd never know who he is. At the same time, my dad was a president of a company. You'd never know who he was.
Yeah, I would never guess that Jabari is the you said the
No.
assistant DA, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
federal.
federal. Yeah, like I would
No,
never
no.
guess. He's just super chill and laid
Yeah.
back and just very unassuming.
And one of the funniest people I ever met in my life. And DJ's on the weekend. And I love that dude with my whole heart. And he was there to support me in most of my fights. Would come in town or wherever I was at and show up and just be there for whatever I needed. If that meant there was blood on me, he was ripping a tablecloth off a table to rub to get the blood off.
Yeah,
Whatever it took. If there was a number to be given, he was grabbing a pencil
yeah.
before he even looked around. He was like, "Oh, here's for that number you're about to get," and he just,
Perfect wingman.
oh yeah, yeah, but just for whatever, would show up to be there for whatever, and person that's invested. But my entire family's that way.
Yeah,
So there's in some regard, there's a legacy to live up to, but one you don't mind living up to, because sometimes their weight can come with that. But I don't feel like there's weight. I feel like there's something you want to.
I look at it as like an opportunity.
It's 100% an opportunity.
It's like an opportunity to grow and like try to meet that or exceed it, right? I mean, from since your dad's passed, everything that like I've just heard from like you and just like your family whenever I meet them and different things, it's like you come from like a very it's a very like strong. Strong is the word, but there's like a word behind strong that I want to use. But it's like I mean, you just have like such a strong like base, and it's just like I've just heard so many like positive things about him. He was just definitely like the cornerstone of your family, and I can just I understand why you are the way you are more now.
Yeah, I think when you, I've always said I'm a good balance of both my parents.
Yeah,
When people said, oh, you look like your mom, you got your mom's eyes, or, oh, but you look like your dad here, and I'm thinking, I'm 100% mix of both of them.
yeah.
Is that math right? Can I be a 50% mix? Because it's 50-50.
I'm
But
not good at math. I don't know.
whatever. I'm a mix of both of them. His very quiet and calculating
Yeah,
in a positive way, move maker, and her refined yet ability to take off the 8 carats and put the Vaseline on, take the
yeah,
ring off, and let you know. I read a post today or a meme that said it was about a girl. Like, I want a girl who's medium hood,
yeah.
not all the way hood,
Just enough.
just enough. Refined enough to do what she got to do, but she'll let you know.
That's your mom.
That is very much my mom.
She's such a sweet woman.
She's amazing, but she'll tell you about yourself. She'll
I
tell you about
like
yourself.
to be told about myself.
We all need to be told about
I love
ourselves.
it, honestly.
I think it's a good thing, and I think so. I use my parents as resources to do that, and I will also use an old boss of mine, and I will also use my master, Rodrigo, my jiu-jitsu father. When I consider all these different entities or points of view when I have those conversations with people, not just in jiu-jitsu but in life, when I choose to tell somebody about themselves. But the trick is figuring out which finger, so to speak, which person you should use, which voice you
Yeah,
should use when you do that. Sometimes it's a mix of all. Sometimes it's just not going to be kind and nice,
yeah,
and you just got to let people know, and that's okay.
yeah. I mean, we're all just human, man. We're all just trying
Right.
to make it.
And you're not. I'm not. And I'm never saying it to be mean or be cruel. It's you're telling people what they need to hear.
Yeah, well, man, everybody's just trying to like beat around the bush, and it's like sometimes just being direct and just honest is most times it's just the way to go. Like, why play around?
Well, I
It's not
think
like you're telling it. It's not like you're lying.
you used the keyword honesty, and I think if everything is honest and it comes from the heart with intent, we just talked upstairs,
Yeah,
and we talked about doing a podcast to Worlds when Worlds comes up, and we didn't disagree. We just had different points of view about how something should be done. And the more we talked through it, the more I was able to work out my own thoughts of what my small thought was in the beginning.
yeah. It's good just to
It
work
is,
through it out loud.
yeah. But if you're with the wrong people, that can be construed completely differently.
Yeah,
But when you're in a free environment to think and speak, and you're going, okay, let me work through that thought process and go, yeah, we're both onto something, but we're not there yet. We
yeah.
know there's something, but we just have to work through the format of doing it, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah, that makes me think of. I just heard the other day, like, or maybe I read
Did
it.
they even make sense? They probably don't,
What?
like,
What you said?
yeah, what we're saying
Oh
in
yeah.
general. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense to us. Hopefully, it makes sense to the listeners.
Yeah.
But I read something the other day or said something. I can't remember, but it said that uh, only a weak communicate. Like it's a sign like you're a weak communicator if you feel like every time we have a disagreement we're arguing.
Okay, but let's.
It's like not arguing. It's like we just have difference of opinion, and it's not saying like that was the scenario up there, but it's just
No, I
saying like
agree.
it's just like
But
you.
think about early relationships. Think about early girlfriends. When you're just figuring that whole thing out
Yeah,
at a young age. If you're in 7th grade, 6th grade, whatever, what's the shelf life of that relationship?
yeah, pretty a week. 5 days
If
feels
man,
like
if you
two
got if
months.
you got to a month, then that's probably like in dog years. That's probably like 10-year relationship.
It's a while.
It's a while.
Yeah,
So when you have an argument or disagreement, or you don't see eye to eye, even let's take argument out of it. You just don't see eye to eye. Then it's like the end of the world. Oh my God, I can't believe you
yeah.
like green beans.
I like corn.
Right, right. And it's got no nutritional value, so you're the devil.
Yeah,
Right? Not today, Satan. So it's going to completely throw off the dynamic. But as you get older, if that's the perspective or the paradigm you've had your whole life,
yeah,
because we all know as you get older, and let's say you're 18 to 21, and you've been in college, you've dated people, and they're not always the most secure relationships.
yeah,
there's alcohol involved, and there's testosterone, and there's estrogen, and there's
Your
just
brain
lack
is
of
not fully developed.
right. The frontal lobe's not developed, and it's just lack of maturity. So when something like that happens, you just not always it's not always constructive when you have those conversations. So when you do get to a relationship that has potential, you're not always prepared because the paradigm you've come from doesn't support that.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're going,
so true.
that's not the end of the world. We're still together.
Yeah,
Like you're not leaving.
yeah, yeah. And I think now that I think about it, what it said a weak. I think it was a weak communicator thinks everything is an argument, right? It's like, and that's not the case at all. Like sometimes we're just having a discussion.
Right. So full circle. That's the other part of my motivation to be better version is knowing that in past relationships also working on myself in past relationships when not necessarily when something went wrong, but maybe I didn't always have the right people in my life. I want to and throw in the gutter and I'd go get another.
Yeah,
It's the way I always looked
there's
at it.
always a new one.
Right. So I wanted to make sure when the right one entered my life, I was doing the right things.
Yeah,
So I would do the work for myself. So if something didn't go right, it was never going to be me.
that's fair. That's fair. I learned a lot from my divorce because like I learned like after you take that time, like you start reflecting, and I was just like, man, like these are all the things that I definitely could have done better.
Right. Because no matter what, we're always at fault in some way. And
Oh,
if you're solely
100%.
looking at the other person, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you can't do that, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
But a lot of people do.
it takes two to tango for sure. And but on that same note, like you can't take all the blame.
No, you no
I
that
I did that in the beginning. I'm like, oh, it's all my fucking fault. I'll never find somebody this
no
great ever again.
no
And then now I'm just like, you know what? That was the best fucking thing that ever happened to me
right.
because
And that's always false. Like there's theories that true love does true love really exist? I think that there's probably multiple people out there for everybody
yeah, 100%, man.
at the end of the
There's
day.
so many people. We're all
Yeah.
humans, and
Yeah.
there's so many like forms of love. You know what I mean? Like there's just different stages of it.
Yeah. And we probably learn to, we're pliable.
Yeah,
We're pliable. So you can kind of format yourself to that because in some ways it's what you need at that point, at that time. But you know what? It's no different than, let's say, jiu-jitsu match. Okay. Since it's episode 77, let's take a trip back. Um, I won a match that day, and I was a better person that day.
yeah.
Um,
Well, real quick, I'm gonna interrupt you for the listeners. You beat the number one jiu-jitsu player at your weight class in the world in the first round.
yeah, legend.
And the ref didn't even give you your points
Right,
all the
right,
way.
right, right.
So
Yeah.
just to kind of let people know what we're talking about.
And the thing is, this is not a unique idea, but maybe I was the best person at that day, at that time, at that moment, during that lunar cycle. You know, um, it is what it is. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, but there's always ways to look at that. So it's all degrees.
Yeah,
It's degrees.
it
Everything's
really
degrees.
is.
We do it again. Maybe I lose wholeheartedly. Maybe I do it again. There's something to be said for being the best kept secret in the underground of jiu-jitsu.
It's nice to be the
Playground legend.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Hey, man, it's not. There's nothing wrong with being the underdog.
No.
You were
no.
definitely the underdog in that situation.
Yeah.
You think maybe he just didn't like. You think he overlooked you. He's like, oh, first round gonna be easy.
Oh, I'm sure there's probably some of that, but and we've all been behind the eight ball, even if it's in the gym. And by the time you're behind the momentum, behind the steam, you're like, man, I just can't catch up.
It's too late.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. And at the end of the day, if somebody's wearing a black belt, they're wearing a black belt.
Yeah. Well, he didn't hate to lose enough.
you know, uh,
I think that's a powerful statement because I listen to a lot of different podcasts, but like Andy Frisella here in St. Louis, the MFCEO project, and there was a period there where he was asking different people. He's like, what do you like? Do you like to win, or do you do you hate to lose? Which one, more? And you already answered that, right? You hate to
Oh,
lose
yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and like I said the same thing. Like I hate to lose more than I like to win.
I'll be honest though, I'm not sure how I feel about that. And there's a part of me that wishes it was the other way. I wish I could say I really cared what people think. I don't.
Yeah.
But part of me thinks, well, maybe that sounds really sadistic or really selfish or really not selfish. That's not a good word. Like, what's wrong with you? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But But I have to admit it. That's just how I'm wired, and I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm evil. I don't do anything cheap to win a match, even if it's in practice. In fact, I will feel guilty if somebody's doing something wrong and I roll with them and I don't correct them,
Yeah.
because that just means I don't have to be the best version of me.
Right. The better they are, the better you are.
Completely.
Yeah, I don't want to win at all costs, but I feel like if I'm doing everything I should do, then I just expect to win. Like I can remember just kind of coming up that my coach would always tell me like we don't celebrate when we win because you're
Expected it.
it's
Yeah.
just expected. Yeah, you
Yeah.
put in the work, like that's what you expect. So I think when you're just like a high achiever and like you work hard, it's just like you expect to win, which almost has like a negative consequence in the sense of like
You
there's
don't enjoy the
there's no more
wins.
thrill.
Well,
It's
like
just like you're happy and then you just move on. But is that bad? I don't know.
no. I mean, I. So I will say this: like if I, whether it be a cage fight, cage would be more accurate. When I fought, I always heard music in my head after I won. And what I heard was because my first fight, Lil Wayne, "Go DJ,"
It's
that
your
my
yeah,
DJ,
yeah. That's
that
the
song was just coming out. So in my head, when I won, that's what was playing in my head, and I was standing on the cage, and I was probably, with the
yeah,
crowd, doing this and hand in the air, waving it like I just didn't care.
yeah,
Yeah, but what really happened though was probably just the solemn look of, eh, because I had the expectation for myself
yeah,
to win. And I know the same thing happened in Vegas this past August. I probably was like, people probably from the outside, people might have been excited, people were happy. I know my teammates were happy, whatever. For everybody else, people in awe or shock. I shouldn't say awe, more shock and awe. But I probably just had to look like,
yeah.
because I didn't show up to not win.
Right. I mean, that's why you're
That's
competing.
why I came.
You expect to win.
Yeah. So, you got to get ready for the next thing. So, what is it you're going to celebrate in
Yeah.
my head? But that's just how I think about things. But I think there is some shame in that, and you should celebrate even small victories, or what's the purpose, and you'll never be happy. And I think there's something truly wrong with that. And that's one thing I do worry about with my kids and my attitude being that way. Not an attitude, but if I reflect that too often.
Yeah. I worry about that too.
I don't want them to be that way. I want to celebrate. I try to celebrate them,
Hmm.
but I also want them to know that the expectation is,
Right. It's higher. Like you can't
yeah,
settle for
yeah,
this. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's like not enough. I worry about that too, right? Because you get so used to winning and then you just kind of create this habit of winning and like the small wins just aren't enough.
mm-mm,
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, a small win, like that's great, and like it's good to celebrate those. You can't live in that moment,
no,
obviously, because
no.
like then you're stuck. But it's like you're always looking for that big win.
But maybe the balance is, as I'm discovering about myself as we talk,
Yeah,
maybe the balance is celebrating it through other people.
maybe just appreciating in the moment, I
Right,
guess.
right. Like, when you go to bed that night, considering it, or um, celebrate those small moments through other people, but knowing yet I still have a job to do and the journey's not done. Even if it's not the same day and it's 4 months later, sometimes people will celebrate it for you and be happy for you. And maybe for me, it's easier I can vicariously celebrate that through somebody else that's vicariously celebrating it through me. Man, that was a lot of math. Yeah. I do
Yeah,
think that made sense, but I need somebody to get the
it
whiteboard, check that
it made
math.
sense to me, right? Because I mean they're happy for you, so you're
Hmm.
just gonna live through their happiness.
Right.
But it's
And it's
like,
easy to take a step back sometimes and admire that and appreciate that, because people just care about you and they want to celebrate you as a friend.
yeah, and
And
some of
I think it's important to do that. I like to do that for my friends as well.
right, yeah,
So,
and if it's something that they can't
yeah,
do themselves,
sure.
like
So
the
that's
whole team
genuine.
wins.
Yeah. As I'm again discovering about myself, because when I do that with my friends, I want to genuinely celebrate that about them because they're important to me.
Yeah, man, like whenever your friend does something well or like a family member, just someone you care about, you get so happy for them and you just feel so good. Or at least winners do anyway. Like if you have a growth
Yeah.
a growth
There you
mindset,
go. There you go. Winners.
I got to bring it in, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to do that. You have to celebrate. I think it's okay. I know Michelle loves. She's always been a dancer her whole life, and I'd be very okay with if she still danced and then sitting in the front row with a bouquet of whatever the appropriate flower is and being a fan of hers.
Yeah.
Because as it is, she does so much to support the family and what I do or the kids do. I think it's a great balance to be a fan of somebody else.
Yeah. I enjoy it, man. So this I guess it was last weekend was like my first actual like full on experience as a coach. So Jackson Henson,
Hmm.
Sammy Henson's son,
Yeah, Luke Cage.
I've been working with him since the beginning of the year, doing
And he's got
striking.
a great attitude.
Such a great attitude,
Yeah,
dude. Just such a hard worker. He puts in he just puts in all that extra work like when he's not with me. And you can tell, right?
yeah,
When you're training
yeah.
with somebody, you can tell if they went and worked on what you've been working on with them. And so I've been working on striking with him, and as we've been talking, like I'm pretty much damn near just his MMA coach basically, because like his full on coach, because he's going to these practices and different things, but there's like nobody really like I found out like guiding him the whole way. So I've just been working with this kid exclusively like all this for this past few months, and then he had his fight last week. He won it in like 30 seconds. And like he's talking to me, and then just through the entire process, like I know exactly how he's feeling. I know exactly
Right,
what he's
because you're
going
there.
through.
You're dialed in.
Exactly. And then like afterwards he's just like he's talking to me and he's like explaining it. I'm just like, dude, I know. It's I'm so happy he feels that.
It means more than when you do it yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just like I just see it and it's like I'm still calm, right?
right.
Like
But in the inside,
yeah, on the
go DJ.
yeah, man. I'm just like,
Act like
yeah,
a
dude.
DJ.
Like I
Yeah,
fucking like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man. Like let's do this. But like he's doing things like he's hanging out with his friends and he's celebrating his wins, different things. I'm just like, I'm just gonna go to bed, bro. Like I,
Right, right.
but it's just like I
But
see
he
him.
should. He deserves it.
He
Yeah.
should. He put in the work. He fucking faced adversity. He got rocked at the opening bell because he was like he went out. He tried to touch gloves.
Yeah.
And
Oh, he got sucker punched. Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Or drag gouged.
Yeah, it was just one of those situations where like it was both their first fight, and I don't
Yeah.
think the other guy had any like ill intent.
He just was fighting.
He was just fighting. He was
Well, there's
just
a reason they say protect yourself at all times.
at all times.
Yeah.
He was just so tuned in, and Jackson, I guess, was just so sure that he was going to touch gloves with him. And I was like, all right, dude, in the beginning of the fight, you need to like hold your hand up and just
Right.
be like,
We in? We
yes
good?
or no,
We good?
yes or no.
Yeah. And even then, there's no guarantee.
Yeah, even then there's no guarantee. And then it's a true sucker punch. But he just went through that whole adversity and like he fought, he did his thing, and it's just like, yeah, man. Like I was just super proud of him and just so happy for his moment because I know how he's feeling in that
Sure,
moment, and
sure.
he's like explaining it to me, like, yeah, but like, dude, I
You
know.
like already know. You don't
You-
have to say a
you
word.
gotta say a word
We
to
could
me.
just sit here and look at each other. We'll both get it.
Exactly.
So I have to say though, he's come to Sunday school, my class for those who don't know on Sundays a few times, and I really enjoyed working with him. And he's busy. He's got a lot going on, and I wish he was there more because not because of me, but because I enjoy working with him because
Yeah.
he's just he's got energy
Yeah.
and it's contagious.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I want to work with him more.
Yeah, man. He's
So I'm putting myself in there.
do it, man.
To be there with you to do that because he's just got this infectious energy, and he's got a great support system with his dad.
Yeah, he works so hard.
Yeah,
he works
does.
so hard.
Both of them. He and his brother just won state this past year as well.
Yeah. Even though I mean that's at a rival school where Rickson.
It is, but I mean, it's okay, man. It's great for the wrestling community. So,
Yeah, man, it's all positive. But yeah, it was just so cool just to see him just to feel that, and I just knew what he went through. It was really cool as a coach. I've never been on that side of things. I've always been the competitor.
I think it's a great balance, and in some ways, it means even more.
Yeah, like I've cornered people before.
Yeah,
but that's not the same.
but from beginning to end, like
Yeah.
you've been involved in the whole thing from start to finish. It means more, because we know that I think everybody's dream is to leave something after they're gone.
Yeah,
I think that's important. That's what it's about, or even giving back to something that's given to you. Because I always, again, not an original concept, but I always say if it wasn't for my instructor, I'd have nothing when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Like I owe everything to him. And I truly, truly believe that. That's not something maybe I would have said as a purple belt. But the longer I've been around the sport, the more I realize, like, my entire perspective. He's not solely, and again, this was a podcast you did with JW, right?
okay.
And JW said that, not, and that's one thing I really wanted to do is next time we podcasted, I wanted to be able to reference back to other podcasts you did because there were some great things that I heard people say.
Yeah,
And I wanted to acknowledge that. And that was one of the best things I heard was JW said that, not one person should be solely responsible for all your jiu-jitsu. And I think that's so true. There's so many different perspectives. There's just the points of view out there, the techniques. Everybody's better at something than somebody else.
Right. Like maybe you have like a certain
Right,
detail to
right,
a Kimura
period, right.
that somebody doesn't have.
Just no different than you can learn from a white belt because they don't have as large of a pool to pull from, so they look at things differently. It can be wrong,
Perspective.
but it's not. I don't want to say paradigm again, but it doesn't mean it's always wrong. And even shapes, height, width, whatever, all play into that.
Yeah.
So you can learn something from everybody. But the basis of my jiu-jitsu would not have existed if it weren't for him. The pool I can pull for him. So I can appreciate him for that. So there's just this. When he made that statement, that was a huge thing to me. And then knowing where I came from is another huge thing. And now I'm forgetting what our freaking point was. I feel like you should always have a notepad because this happens fairly often.
I know, man. I should be doing this. No, we were just talking about how JW made that point that there shouldn't be just one person in your jiu-jitsu. I don't know what I didn't know where you were going with your point, to be honest with you.
It was a good one, by the way.
I don't know. You just wanted to reference back to JW and what he said.
Yeah, we're talking about Jackson.
We were talking about Jackson, infectious energy.
Yeah.
How you wanted to work with him more, you wanted him to be around.
Oh, so being a coach.
He has multiple coaches.
Right. So you want to be able to give back. So you start to realize that this is bigger than you are.
Yeah.
And everybody's dream is to be able to leave something, even if in life, a legacy.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Legacy is so important.
It is.
That's something that not everybody reaches, but I mean I think that that's like that like you transcend a certain level where it's like it's most important what people remember you as.
Right. Because we're not all going to be here. Heroes never die, legends live forever.
Yeah.
But I think everybody leaves something. It's just in what capacity.
Right.
How
dedicated are you
sure.
to that?
I live, my dad lives through me every day.
Yeah. He left a legacy.
He left a legacy. So I think it's important to do those things, and I think it's important to live up to those things as well. If you respect what somebody's done.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's different for everybody, but to me, it's important because he put in enough work as an individual, as a man, as a husband, as a positive influence, not just my life, but other people's life that needs to live on. And and it'd be, man, it wouldn't just be ashamed. It'd be, it'd be old school basketball where they committed a foul and they had to raise their hand and say that was me, that's my fault. If I didn't do that through him, and he raised me to be that way anyway. Yeah. But I think now it has to increase with him passing because that legacy. I have to step up my game.
You
bottom
build
line,
upon it.
Bottom line, I got to step up my game. Period, in all aspects. Because when my dad was passing, I told him if he was tired, that's fine. I said I got it from here. I said you did your job.
Yeah.
And that means your job was complete.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I chose to look at it. I didn't want him to go. It sucked. Understatement. But this is the position we're in. God felt like it was time. And he said, your time's up. You did your job. So I literally told him, if you're tired, it's okay. I got it from here.
Yeah.
So I have to live up to that in whatever capacity that is.
Right.
So every day, my mindset was that anyway, but now it's even more so. Do better. And I think we go with Jackson or we go with the kids class, whatever it may be, my own kids, my Sunday school class with adults. It's just put as much into people as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because you're not just affecting jiu-jitsu performance, you're affecting lives.
It's a ripple effect.
It is. And that's all you can create as an individual because none of this is eternal. None of us are going to be here.
No.
But I guarantee you still have coaches that you think about when you were in 5th grade, 6th grade that affected everything you do.
Oh, yeah.
Not just high school.
Yeah, I can think of my 5th grade teacher. He left a very lasting impact on me. He was actually the first person to ever introduce the concept of real wrestling.
Right.
Because the school I went to was like in a small town in Potosi, Missouri. And at the time, I don't know if they do today, but at the time they still had a wrestling team in high school, and he was the wrestling coach. And I loved like WCW and WWF at that time. And he's like, no, that's fake wrestling. Like, this is real wrestling. So, like, that was like the first, like, introduction to, like, what wrestling was.
Right.
And he was, like, my favorite teacher at the time. So I still think about that guy.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
I you know, I had a guy that was a coach when I was in high school, and I mean one of many that were instrumental. But this is one that was. I'm going to choose to talk about one that was confusing because he would tell me to be selective about the people I choose to spend time around,
Yeah.
and I say that because we've all got friends, we've got associates,
Hmm.
and if he saw me talking to people in weightlifting classes, which I think is the class I had with him, that he didn't think were worthy, for lack of a better word, for me to spend time with doing weightlifting class. You know what I mean? For that hour, he would pull me aside and tell me, which was a very confusing thing to me. But I was also young, high school. So I had to I probably needed to do more work on myself with what he meant than take it at face value because in my head, it was he thinks I'm better than them. And that's not who I am.
Yeah.
But he probably didn't mean just that. He would tell me that, you're going a different place than these people are going. You have different expectations for yourself. So he was seeing things in me that I didn't even see in myself yet,
Yeah.
which I can appreciate. So the older I got, the more I understood that. But at the same time, like I was prom king and homecoming king. Oh my God, homecoming king, sophomore year, junior year, prom king, myself and the same girl. And we stepped down once we made the court our senior year, so we didn't win it again because we'd already won it. And why not let somebody else have the opportunity?
Right.
We had our chance, and that was great, and I appreciate it. But it's time for somebody else. But in my heart, I honestly only believe I won anything because I was just nice to people. I didn't judge people. So the people he told me to, not consider,
Yeah.
are people I still did consider, but I still kept things in perspective because people are people, and there's no reason to be rude to them unless they treat you rude.
Right.
But I treated people as humans. I talked to them, and everybody was worth your time, a certain amount of time.
Certain amount of time.
Certain amount of time.
Yeah, and maybe at that
That's the
time.
trick.
Yeah, man. And the thing is, it's like it's hard to see like the big picture
Yeah.
at that time. I can think of like being younger. It's the kids that honestly, like for like I don't know if the best way to say it, but like they just don't have much of a future. Unfortunately,
Sure.
they're really the most attractive people to be around. You know what I mean? Like they're exciting, they're fun,
It
like
can't be
they're cool.
that darkness about
A
them.
little bit about them. Like I can think of growing up around like just certain like hood kids who like probably didn't have much of a future, but like they were just there's something very enticing. Like you wanted to be friends with them at a young age, and then you start getting a little bit older, and you just kind of see like they're not really on the same path as you.
I mean, is it? I mean, and I'm not asking you in general, but maybe myself and the universe or everybody who's listening at some point. Is it because they were so interesting, or is it because we're attracted to things that are wounded?
I just figured it was just something different. It was
Well,
just what it
exactly.
just wasn't.
It's a different
It's just
perspective.
what I wasn't.
It's something, yeah. So, and I think innately, I think we want to fix also. So I mean, it's like you're attracted to crazy women,
Yeah.
which at some point every guy is.
There's some of that, but there's also some of it just like how many kids grow up in like a really nice home, but they're very attracted to like that hood.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
You
because
want something different,
the
right?
grass is
Right.
greener. Like you don't really have an understanding, but like you go talk to those kids and then be like, "Why the fuck do you want this?"
Why are you here?
Yeah,
I
like
want to
this
go to your house.
exactly. Like this is crazy. It's just like you're attracted to the thing that you're not.
Hmm.
Opposites attract.
Sure, human nature. And back to crazy women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back to crazy women, man. I can think of definitely a couple different kids that growing up I thought I really wanted to be friends with them. Like in school, I was never really like I was always cool with them. I was always cool with everybody, but now like being an adult, I'm just like, yeah, it's probably best I wasn't friends with that person.
Yeah.
I'm just so big on the people that I'm around. Like now, I don't even feel bad. Like I audit the people in my circle.
Yeah, you can't feel bad about that. That's okay.
I fire people left and right. Like you're
Right.
not making the cut. Sorry, buddy.
Canceled. Right.
Yeah, it's just especially at this level of the game, it's just like I'm trying to do big things.
Right.
I was telling Deja today that I decided like I'm working really hard like towards building this podcast and like building this brand and like just doing my own thing and like I visualize things and then like when I visualize it, it's important to also like not just see it but like feel it and encompass it
Sure.
totally. So like I was telling, I was like, look, Deja, when I make it, I'm gonna build Jeff City or like the high school. I'm gonna build them a wrestling room because like that's where it all started for
Sure.
me.
I
So
get that. It makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
There's I think about moved a lot growing up in the different sides of life I've seen, and just which we talked about some of that earlier. But I think about when I first moved to Chicago or the Chicagoland area, and just being exposed to some crazy things,
yeah, I bet.
and you become friends with people because they're. I think when you're kids, people are just. I don't think you've discovered a path yet of being a bad person necessarily.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think you're still kind of lost, but you're figuring it out.
you can still be a good dude and do bad things.
You know what? Thank you. There it is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and there it is. And that true as an adult as well. And I remember being around crack and going, well, that's not a place I want to be.
Right.
And being around somebody, and then the guy I was with, I don't even remember the entire thing, but we ended up somewhere in somebody's garage and somebody was smoking crack. And I'm like, yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Like, this is not something I want to be around. Um, and I don't even know how I got there, but I knew enough to know that I needed to cancel that person from my life, that I ended up there. And they weren't doing it. But no, that's too close.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking, oh my God, Adam, 20 plus years ago. And I still remember the smell.
You never forget it.
Never, ever forget it. And there's things in life sometimes that will shake you to the bone and go, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, that will, put the fear. And nobody was asking me to do anything, but I knew enough to go, yeah, I'm not, no. I'm not. I'm better than this, and I'm not better than anybody, but I'm better than this situation right here, right now.
Right.
You know,
That's so true, man.
and you just kind of hope that you pass that off to your like. What did my parents do
Hmm.
that made that register with me?
Yeah.
That I didn't just go, okay, I'll take a hit.
Just lead by example. Just leading by example. Crack is not the thing to do. There's a lot of drugs in the world.
I think there's a thing they say crack is whack.
Crack is fucking whack,
Crack
dude.
is whack.
Now, did you see yourself ever being a coach?
So I'll say this: I knew that. I don't know, man. I remember having a coach when I was in ninth grade here in St. Louis before I moved to Chicago. A wrestling coach who, had a whole lot of matches that would last 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 10, And because we moved here from Oklahoma, I was in seventh grade, middle of my wrestling season, and I would go up to the high school and wrestle, and I'd beat most of those guys. But in St. Louis, you can't compete on the junior high or middle school team unless it's a club team. You can't do the associated school team, if that makes sense. So I had to be the manager.
Really?
So, yeah, I had to be the manager. And so uh, as the season progressed, I stopped carrying bags, and people would carry their own bags because I could beat all of them. So it was kind of a unique environment. Um, I got told I was a manager, so I carried the bags, but I got to practice every day, and I was happy that I just got to practice. I got to wrestle.
Yeah.
But there was a difference in Oklahoma wrestling and then St. Louis wrestling or Missouri wrestling, which has come a long way since then. But it was just a difference at the time. But I had a coach who would not allow me to take people down and just pin them, and which truly influenced me, and he made me let people back up. So I think even at the high school I graduated from in Chicago, I had a record for, most takedowns in a season because I was just at that point you just started to kind of refine something.
Yeah, it's tech fall, everybody.
Just tech fall everybody. So I'll never forget that guy for the lessons that taught me. Like what are you gaining from pinning people in 10 seconds?
It's too easy.
You're not
getting
refining.
better.
You're not refining a skill set at
Yeah.
all, at all. That's probably feeding more ego than anything.
Hmm.
So it taught me a great lesson with that. So that stuck with me. And other coaches that did these amazing things. God, if I even tried to name all of them, I'd be insulting them because I'd forget so many of them that did so many great things. So thank you to all of you who are probably not listening at all.
They
But I
might be.
appreciate,
I
but
got
I
a lot of fucking
appreciate you.
listeners,
Oh,
Tracy.
that's not. Trust me, that's more about me and not you.
I was
I'm just
teasing.
not that interesting. Your podcast is great,
You're super interesting.
but I knew the day that I started jujitsu, the day that I walked in, I knew I'd do it for the rest of my life, and I knew I would probably have an academy and that would teach the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But to say did I think I'd ever be a coach, I don't know if I thought about it that way. I just knew that I would have an academy and I would teach, and I know that's the exact same thing. But
I just didn't think of it
I
that
just
way.
didn't think of it that way. I didn't give myself that kind of credit because again, who am I to garner that? I just knew that I would do that the rest of my life,
Yeah.
and for me to do that the rest of my life, I would have to have a school and I would have to teach. But I just didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't quite register.
Didn't quite register in that regard. It just had to be a part of who I was
Yeah.
every day.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I never saw myself as a coach. That's why I was asking.
But
But
you're a good coach
I feel like I've just totally encompassed this role.
and accepted it. You're a good
Yeah,
coach.
I've tried.
I tell you what,
But I've had good coaches like you to help me
man,
along the way.
I appreciate that, but I could not do anything that I do without having amazing people around me. Obviously you being one of them. God, Justin, Jeremy, Jake.
I wish Chris would come back.
Yeah, I know he's such a patient, nice guy. But one. So let's take a step
Or
back
Rich.
though. Or Rich, yeah, man.
I want
Oh
to. I
my
don't want to
God.
forget names.
Please, no, I gave you the look. Like, help me
Yeah,
out.
no, Rich was great. They're all great. We've
But
had so many great
yeah,
coaches.
and what I really appreciate about the crew is that it's not necessary to have a kid involved in a program. But what I appreciate about it is, and I want, to have a mother step up and be involved. And I've asked, but I think we have an aunt coming. She's gonna.
Who is that? Madeline's
That's
aunt?
Madeline's aunt, and I asked her to be
I
part
thought that
of it.
was her mom.
It's her aunt,
Okay.
and I asked her Thursday.
I need to ask her name. I'm a little rude
Megan,
sometimes.
Aunt Megan.
Okay,
Or
I'm just gonna introduce myself next time.
yeah, or you can call her Aunt Bacon because I believe when Madeline was a kid she couldn't say Megan, so she just started calling her Bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah,
It's
so
bacon.
Aunt Bacon. But I asked her to be part, and because I think it's important for. I mean, the obvious choice is for the young women to see that they're capable, and that this is what's possible, and you can be in a role of empowerment. But I think it's also just as important for the young men to see a woman empowered.
Yeah.
So I really want her there in the forefront, and to kind of lead that charge in jujitsu. And whether it doesn't matter what belt she's wearing, the fact that she's out there in the front
She's
line.
just there. She's an adult.
Yeah, she's an adult. She's a woman. I think it's important for her to be there. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that everybody in there has skin in the game. They
Yeah.
have a kid in the program, and more importantly than them passing on jujitsu or whatever, the biggest thing to me is that this is something in your life that you guys will always share, and something you'll never get back. So for me, when I'm gone, and I always think about this with my mom and her siblings and their father, because I hear them tell stories, and I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap and in your very childlike way saying, hey, tell me a story about when you were younger. And him telling me story after story, which greatly influenced me in wanting to live. I mean, he was in the Navy and the Marines and I mean, just all the things that he did, like, man, I got to live. I only get one shot. And I literally remember being a kid and thinking, I only get one shot at this. I have to live it completely. So one day I can have a kid sit on my lap and I can tell stories, or so I can be on we're all going to be in a deathbed one day.
Yeah.
And the stories at the wake or the funeral or in the hospital room are, do you remember when this happened or that happened? And because it's all you got.
Yeah.
It's all you got, those stories. So I love the fact that we've created an environment where, way after you're gone, your two children are going to sit back and remember when we used to train jiu-jitsu with dad, and my three kids that do that, even if they stop, that'll be that memory that one day they'll have that thing that they shared during those X amount of years
Yeah.
that nobody can ever take away from them. And they'll have that shared experience. And that's what it's about to me. That's why I love having every coach I have in there that selflessly spends that time with not just their kid but other kids. That they'll be remembered eternally through those other kids, and they won't even know it. That's the thing is, Adam, you're gonna have kids think about you, you won't ever even know it,
That's so true.
and that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
you're not even gonna know you influence this person to the point that they're gonna be telling stories about you in 30 years.
Yeah, man, being a coach and an educator is just it's one of the most important
Oh
jobs and
yeah,
roles you
yeah,
could ever have. I think about that all the time, man. Like I can think of coaches that I had like in karate class as a kid.
yeah, yeah.
It's like it's just so when you're a kid and it doesn't even matter like what like where the adult is in life because you don't know. You just know that it's an adult and they're teaching you some things.
Right, right. And you don't really have the BS meter, but that's what's great about kids is because you do. Like you don't know if they're not paying their bills on time. You don't know that they're just shitty in a relationship,
Right.
but you know during this time frame on these days that that person is everything, and they probably are
Yeah.
because you read through that as a kid, and they probably, you know what I mean. You just kids have this innate ability to see right through people to the deepest parts of their soul and know, okay, this person's good,
Yeah.
and that's what matters. Period. Is
That's true.
that moment right there when that person does, and then you can go back to being the piece of shit that you are,
That's true.
you know.
You
But
can, but I don't think most pieces of shit are doing that.
no, I agree. It
But no, I
happens.
get you. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all. I mean, you might not be a perfect person by
No,
any stretch.
again,
Yeah,
part of my charm.
that just might be where you're like. That's might be where you're best is when you're
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah, and that might be where you choose to start changing things, and that's your redeeming quality, the things that
Yeah,
you're trying to change about yourself. So,
yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I never saw myself coaching ever. I guess because like when you're an athlete, it's all about you,
hmm
right? And it's just like when do you ever see yourself not worrying about yourself?
yeah, I only started coaching kids class because of my kids.
Ditto.
Because we had a guy running the program who didn't get his blue belt from us, who wasn't necessarily part of, didn't do things the way we did them.
How did that even happen?
I don't know.
It is what it
There was
is.
probably a need, and it happened, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, and I kind of just I would sit on the side with the rest of the parents. I don't even think the other parents knew I trained. And then one day I showed up on the mat, and they're like, "What are you doing? And where'd that belt come from?" You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Was it purple at the time?
I was.
Was it brown yet?
It might have been brown.
Close to it.
Yeah, yeah. It might have been purple. I don't even remember. It was purple or brown. Um, but they had no clue, and then I just didn't want them learning the wrong things,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of got involved. And one of the best decisions I ever made. But I did not want to get labeled. I could care less now because that was my own ego getting in the way. I didn't want to just be labeled a kids coach.
Yeah.
But but what I had promised myself and what I'm true to is I teach the kids the same level of jujitsu as I teach the adults. And the thing that's beautiful about it is I think most of the kids are more technical than most of the adults.
Yeah. That's what I think about all the time because like I never really had the issue of like being labeled as just a
Excuse me.
as a kids coach.
hmm
But whenever like I think about it or if I ever say, like explain it, but they're learning the exact.
They are.
I look at them as I mean they're learning the same jujitsu, whether it's an adult or it's a kid. Like it's the same jujitsu.
It is. I mean, can you is there a class that can you look at the kids or the branded jiu-jitsu I teach compared to let's say some of the white belts or blue or purple belts even that we have and go are they learning the same stuff or are they even as refined as some of the kids?
Absolutely not, because in the I mean I've been helping you teach this kids class now for 2 years, and fuck I guess almost 2.5 years really coming up on it. 2 years for sure though, but like my jujitsu game has elevated immensely. That sounds like I take three fucking technique classes with you a week. So it's like no, it's probably better than what some of the adults are like learning.
Yeah, and I think again, it doesn't go back to I won't feed my ego and say because I'm greater because I'm this. I'm just it's consistency,
It's consistent.
consistency.
It's consistent. It's there's a lot of detail there. Your style of teaching is definitely a little bit different than some other people's style, and we can only teach from like our own
hmm
style of jujitsu essentially. but our own perspective. But man, it's just very thorough, and it's elevated my game immensely. So I know these kids are just getting better and better.
Right. I don't know if anything I do is better or worse. I'm just there with those people 3 days a week.
Yeah, but you also teach adults.
Yeah, sure. So I'll get to that. But if you, so back to JW, not one person should be solely responsible. At the same time, in that same breath, if you are exposed to, there can be issues with if you don't have a consistent instructor.
Yeah, if you're
So
getting too many voices
if
and
you're
too
getting
many.
too many voices, so if you can get that one main voice and then supplement, I think that's a huge thing.
That's the best way.
And I think that that's a huge thing that they're getting, that even if it's not my voice, if I can't make it because I've got a family and I got responsibilities, and it's you teaching, or it's whoever teaching,
Yeah,
everybody, and I mean, in a lot of ways, it's still a business, and everybody knows I'd prefer things be done in a certain way, and I hope in some ways I've influenced your jujitsu.
100%.
So even if you're teaching something in your style, it's also going to be from a perspective that might involve me
Yeah, it's still gonna reflect your
in
jujitsu.
some capacity.
100%.
Even though because it's my class, most people are gonna go, oh, let me teach it something the way he'd want it to be done. But even if you put your own individual spin, you're gonna go, your spin is gonna be affected in some way, whether we like it or not.
Yeah,
All of us are gonna be affected in that way by somebody that we spend that amount of time with. So it's still gonna have that person's spin on it, and I think that's important. It's back to the inspect what you expect. And like that day you taught my Sunday class with adults.
yeah,
I think my job as a professor is also to go inspect what you expect. And I have expectations for Adam. And I think he's great. I think he's ready for a brown belt. And I think part of the difference between browns and blacks is not just timing, but it's the ability to pass that information on, disseminate that information.
yeah,
And you should inspect that
yeah,
and how it's communicated. So I was really hoping, like, God, I really hope he doesn't think I'm just standing over his shoulder.
I took it exactly the way you meant it.
Good,
I
because it was
really
from
did.
the heart, as
Yeah,
in, this is this is part of my job, and my job is to go, hey, let's, man. Sometimes people take it too serious, and sometimes they don't take it serious enough.
yeah.
Because as long as again it comes from the heart, it comes from love. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I just really looked at it as like you're really taking ownership of my development,
Yeah,
and you,
and that's exactly what it
and
was.
you just wanted just to see how I was teaching and help where you can.
Right. I just wanted to be part. That's it. And sometimes people can take that the wrong way. But when something comes from love and people know that what your intentions are and that you're invested in them, that's it,
Yeah,
man.
and I'm so used to being coached that I mean I enjoy being
Yeah.
coached. Like I want to be told like what am I doing wrong? How can I do it better? Like
But not everybody takes that in the right way.
yeah, yeah, and I think that
Some
just
people think
comes
it's
from
just critical, but I guess it involves the players that are involved though too.
yeah. Well, I'm probably harder on myself than anybody else can ever be. Like in the beginning, like whenever I was younger, for sure. Like I can think of like my wrestling coach. He said to me like he's like you shouldn't have a problem with me like essentially just I'm paraphrasing, but like being on your ass essentially. Like you should worry whenever I stop talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
because that means I don't care anymore.
100%.
So like whenever I was younger and I was like, oh man, I'm fucking like me and my partner like we were the two best on the team. We're fucking killing it. And I'm just like, we're winning all these tournaments, we're doing all this. I'm like, why are you still on my ass, man? Like, we're the two best here. Like, why are you on us? But then in hindsight, like I look at it, it's like he just wanted more out of us.
Right. Development. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You're
it's easy.
capable.
It's easy to get complacent and to feel like you're the shit. And now like I'm like the complete opposite. Like I feel like I'm never doing enough, or I'm never I'm never good enough. It's like I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I
Right.
need to get better. So
But if you hadn't had that foundation set,
exactly, like it changed the way I think about it. So like whenever I have somebody who when you take ownership and like you're like I really want to invest in this relationship and like in this development, like I really appreciate that and I take it for like what it truly is.
yeah. And I'm glad you took it that way. You probably voiced it 10 times better than I could have. Because I just constantly look at it like, man, I hope this person's taking this from the right way because it comes from the heart, and I'm trying to be there for them. And again, not that those things weren't ever done for me; that they were. But I always look at things from a perspective of, maybe you, I'm appreciative of everything my parents did. My dad could not be there for all the sporting events because he was trying to support us financially.
Right. Just running a company.
Sure, I wished he was there more in some things. I mean, I'm at state tournament where your parents at. No, my dad's working. I got to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
They can't make it. But other parents are going, so you're at state again, your parents aren't here. I'm like, but you have to understand situations and coming from nothing
You just get used to it.
to something. There's just those things. And also, whatever mistakes I made in jiu-jitsu, when I teach my Sunday class, I want to cut that time in half and people learn from my mistakes so it takes you less time than it took me. So I try to take into account all the things I learned in my personal life, the things I learned in jiu-jitsu, and then invest those in other people. Not that anything was wrong and not that anything was right, but take the good and bad of it, even with my kids. Every time I have to have a conversation about something that you did that was ignorant or stupid, I follow it with "I love you,"
That's a good move.
because that wasn't something I don't think I really heard from my dad till I was in college, and I'm sure he said it. I'm certain he said it. But the older I got, the more I realized I didn't hear it that much.
Hmm.
But I also know that's because of how things were for him growing up. And again, they're human and they're flawed. And the more I realize that, the more I realize I should tell this guy I love him because he's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And that way he'd also know it was okay to say it too.
Yeah.
And I started doing that when I was in college, and then up until he passed, he would say it to me all the time. And at first there was a stutter, like, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
then he starts saying it. But I think, I tell, man, Justin tells me he loves me every time I talk to him, and I tell him that too.
Yeah.
I told a ton of people that because I care about them. And in case you're not here tomorrow, then I'm not going to be the asshole.
Yeah. I'm trying to get better at that. Just telling people I love them.
Yeah. And I don't think between guys it's got to be this,
It's not to be weird.
doesn't have to be.
Love is not a weird thing. That's the thing. For some reason, people make it weird, but it's just like, it's just this natural affinity of caring about people.
Literally, it's something that comes from the heart. Like, I care about your opinion. I care about your where you're at in life and what's going on with you. When you pick up the phone, well, we don't really do that anymore. We text people. But when you text people, just to be like, you text me, say, hey, what are you doing tonight? What's
Yeah.
going on? Have some drinks. Maybe we podcast. I mean, that's checking on somebody. How you doing?
Yeah.
We just do things differently as men. We don't go, hey, just
Hey, bro, you all right?
yeah,
Everything
yeah, yeah. You throw a bro in there or bruh, and that when you say bro or bruh, that's love right there.
Yeah.
You're saying it in a different way. But that's the exact same thing. You're still just checking on somebody. Because I did move so much growing up, I try to send texts to friends and just say, hey, just thinking about you. Is everything good?
Yeah.
Because there's times where like we picked up and left and we were gone,
Right.
like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I was always like, well, that I equate it now to if I happen to drive through a Starbucks and get a coffee, I may not see that person again.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, whatever happened to that person? Because you just may not ever see them again. And like, you don't know if they passed, you don't know if they got a different job. They don't know if that happened to me. And just all of a sudden you're not there because, when I was a kid, it's because I moved.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going on in that person's life. So I try to reach out to people and just say, hey, in my own little way, thinking about you, hope all is well, and just leave it at that.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that because I was just thinking about this the other day, how I have this real tendency to, or at least I used to, like to not develop relationships because I feel like I still do, like feel like everything's temporary. And then like I always just feel like people won't remember me. Like I'm just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like they won't remember me. Like it, like,
Yeah,
like
I
I'm
mean,
just this forgettable face or this forgettable.
I don't
Like I'm not
know.
leaving any impressions. Like nothing matters because they won't remember anyway.
I think you're not only shooting yourself short, but even more so the other person.
Yeah, yeah, I've totally changed the way I think about
Yeah.
that right now because like it's very important for me to develop and like nurture relationships.
Right.
And I realize and now like instead of thinking, oh well it doesn't matter because they won't remember me, which I've found is often not the case. Like now I just want to do everything to make sure that they do remember me. Like I want to leave like a lasting
Yeah.
impact to where it's just like, man, that was just such a good dude. Like
As long as it's from the heart.
it's
Sure,
just
of course.
just a positive memory.
So I'm going to go to the bathroom, but I have a question for you when I get back.
Okay.
So keep talking about the positive attitude.
I'm gonna keep talking, dude. I'm actually getting better at just talking when people are gone. I'm just gonna keep it rolling, man. So No filler. Yeah, dude. So positivity is so important, fellas, guys, girls, everybody listening. I'm really glad we're actually going down this path right now, talking about who's around you, auditing the people in your life, just the influence that you're leaving on people, because you know I've always kind of, just like I was saying, like I've just grown up and I was just thinking that it doesn't fucking matter, man. Like I have these interactions with people and I meet these people, but I always just felt like, you can kind of like go in the corner and hide, and like they don't see you and they won't remember you. Like you're just not important. It's just not a very lasting, like impactful encounter for them, and they're not going to remember you. So like I would always like feed on that. It's like, all right, it doesn't fucking matter. Like whether this is just like me checking out at Walmart, or I don't even shop at Walmart anymore, but at the store, or if it's just a classmate that I had in college or in high school or something, or just any just random stranger. I was just like, man, they're not going to remember me. But I realized that people do remember you, and you don't know what somebody's going to remember. And it's very important just to be positive and just leave a lasting impact. So it's just something that I've just always been thinking about as of when I always just something I've really been thinking about as of late, and it's something that you just grow from, and you've actually helped me with that, because I haven't always been good at relationships, and I probably would say like the last like 2 or 3 years, it's been something that I've really like cultivated and like developed and become better at.
One thing I will always do that I'm guilty of is, and you may hate me for it, but I'll push people outside the comfort zone.
Yeah,
I'll always just
you like
push.
making other people uncomfortable.
I love that because I think it's important.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
it's the most important, because we all want to take the path of least
Hmm.
resistance, but that's not where growth happens.
It's not ever, and but I honestly only do it to people that I believe are capable of more.
Yeah,
If I think that I mean, everybody's capable of more, so that's not a completely accurate statement. But when I know people have expectations for themselves,
yeah,
but they're not necessary, but they sometimes find excuses and reasons not to, those are the people that I'll push
yeah.
outside the comfort zone. Um, and I don't know if people hate me for it, and sometimes I think they do, but
Maybe in the moment.
yeah, but I'll just keep chipping away, and I don't care. To be
Yeah,
honest, I'll just keep doing it, and I think it's important. And like I'll be honest, I'll tell you this: I've kicked myself for not developing a relationship with you sooner.
yeah. We talked about this.
Yeah, but sometimes you're just not. Sometimes life just doesn't allow for that.
Yeah. I was talking to Justin
It can
about
be
that.
situational.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
I was talking to Justin about that the other day, because he was saying something like there was a period to where like you weren't really around St. Charles very
Hmm.
much, and
Absolutely.
I was like, yeah, that's like kind of like right when I started, because whenever I came in, like you were out like running, running Rhino Fitness out
Sure.
out in Wentzville,
Right.
and then I guess there's probably like a period there like after that to where like you just weren't really around the gym, and like I moved away for a year and I came back, but you weren't really around the gym a whole bunch, and then I remember,
Probably at Rodrigo's more at that
yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember one time you came in and we sparred. I don't know if you remember this, but it was like the only time that we sparred. And it was right before you were training for a fight, and we've talked about it since. I
Yeah.
think you had like
Yeah.
shoulder surgery
Yeah.
shortly
Yeah.
after, like your shoulder was all fucked up.
Yeah. I tore my labrum in three places, and then my bicep tendon was unattached, and I had literally ripped my entire quad apart.
Yeah,
So I was hurting
yeah,
and literally still trying. And I was supposed to, after that fight, I knew I had to get through that one because I had a contract on the table with Showtime to fight with M M1
M1. Yeah,
M1.
yeah, that was a good organization back in the
Yeah,
day.
and
Are they based in Canada? Are they a Canadian organization? I think they were.
yeah, it was or Russian. I was some
Maybe
weird.
Russian.
There were some crazy things going on with M1, but yeah, I remember doing that, and I remember just like having zero business
Yeah,
being sparring or training with the condition my body was in.
Yeah, I just remember telling Justin, I was like, yeah, like that was like the first time like I really like interacted with you, like for real. And I was just like in the height of like I'm the shit mode,
Yeah.
because like
I hear that. Yeah.
I was training like, and this was at the Cave Springs
Yeah. Yeah.
gym, and then I was like, so like I don't think I gave you the respect that you deserved at that time.
I mean, who was I? You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't really know you, and I just remember that sparring encounter, and like it wasn't like you didn't beat my ass.
Right. Probably not.
And
Yeah.
but then we talked about it, and then it made sense. I was like, all right, well, you're hurt, and then like now I know you, and like I know like the athlete that you are.
Right. I get that. But, also that's not take away from you also being good either.
Yeah, well, my only point was like there was just like this whole period of
Sure.
just
Sure.
like
I'm with you.
life
Yeah.
happening to where like you were like running your own gym, and then like you're at had Rigo's, and like I had that one encounter with you, and then like it just never really
Yeah.
lined
It's
up.
kind of the perfect storm of things happening and
Just life and
you
just
know, and
circumstances.
man, and to that point, I know I don't think I ever come off like I'm an ass, but I think there's a lot of people who think I'm an ass.
Really?
I truly, wholeheartedly believe that. But partly probably because I have a I can be sarcastic, but it's only out of love.
Yeah.
And but I'm also very self-effacing though too.
Yeah.
So I'll make fun of me just as much as I will anybody else. And contrary to most people's belief, I don't take myself that completely serious, but I also don't really care. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's just like, and I think sometimes people confuse that. People confuse when you don't talk to them for you thinking that you're better than them, and that's just not the case. I love everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're also an alpha, right? And when you're super secure with yourself, like you don't feel the need to necessarily talk to people. Like you're comfortable in the situation.
Yeah, just
And
yeah.
and when an alpha sees an alpha, it's like there's a little bit of like a competitive thing there.
I don't know, like that doesn't bother me. I don't mind seeing another alpha. Like
Not like you, but
I think I'm attracted to alphas because
I like them too. But there's still like this energy
there could
there.
only be one. Some Highlander type stuff going on, right?
I think more so like just like in the meeting, like
Oh, you
once,
kept sizing each other up,
yeah.
doing your Jason Bourne.
That's it. That's
Right.
but like
Yeah,
once
yeah,
you start
yeah.
to get to know those people, because I think
Yeah.
of like EJ for example.
Mm-hmm.
So like when EJ and I first met, I can even think of like being at the very first gym. We probably didn't talk for like for like a week.
Okay, I get that.
We trained like we were around each other. There's even times where like we were like both there early, but we didn't even
Didn't
talk.
say anything. Yeah.
There's no talking. It's like there's like this vibe.
I hear you. No, I get you.
But
No,
then you get
yeah,
past it
that's
and
a
you get
real
to know
thing.
them, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, we're brothers.
Yeah. Well, think about this though. Think about I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and we were talking about T-shirts. Like I really need to clean my closet, and it's a huge closet, and I have so many T-shirts, and I refuse to get rid of any jiu-jitsu related T-shirts, whether they be from tournaments or whether they be like a random T-shirt like a sponsor gave me,
Better
because
than me.
because they're memories.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't let the things you own you. To quote Fight Club again.
Yeah, the things you own and own
Yeah.
you.
But there's also like because I don't take myself that seriously, and sometimes I don't realize how long I've been in this until you and I talk,
Yeah.
and then we have these conversations, and then I go, oh my God, like I pulled out a picture from Facebook a couple of weeks ago, of when Rickson was 1 or 2, my son, not Rickson Gracie. I don't know if he was ever 1 or 2. I think he was born a jiu-jitsu phenom adult.
Yeah, he was born just the way he is.
Right.
Right in
Just
his
shorter.
right in his coral belt.
Right. And and with a white gi.
Yeah.
And we were with Helson at the Arnolds in Ohio at Helson's U.S. Nationals, and Helson Gracie and Luis Pajares, who's another big name in the sport, and Helson's obviously huge. And I'm thinking, and my mom and I were talking about, it was really this whole conversation came because I was just thinking, I saw the shirt, that bright yellow shirt they were wearing, and it was right before I was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and I had Rickson with me, and Helson's walking around this tournament with holding like my kid, like it's his own. But that was just the environment, and I forget like how long I'm, and compared to a lot of people, I haven't been around long at all. I mean, at all.
Yeah, but you were within that first wave.
No, man, I was not. I was in
Second
like
wave?
maybe third and a half.
I don't know, man. I don't know
But
if it
maybe
was that
that's,
deep.
I don't know.
I don't know if it was that deep, man. Because I would almost say like I was in like the third wave.
I don't. But you're in the third wave of St. Charles MMA.
No, I was not in the third wave of St. Charles
Well,
MMA. I was probably
yeah,
in like
that's
the
true.
first or second wave of St. Charles MMA.
Well, the point was is that we're talking about alpha males. I'm think about the environment I was in
Yeah.
with those alpha
Hmm.
males that were all, which is a perfect storm of craziness, where you've got a bunch of wrestlers who were all fighters, who were all also jujitsu guys, 100% deep in all aspects of all of those.
Yeah.
That's not common. That's
Mm-mm.
very unrare for these guys to all be absolute wrestlers, high level wrestlers, all MMA guys, but all also jiu-jitsu guys. Those
Yeah.
things don't all gel
Right.
together at all. And it was just this crazy environment where I don't think that can really exist at too many places. And that's a room full of alpha males
Hmm.
completely. And it was nerdy and it was nasty and it was mean. It was great and phenomenal all at the same time. It was this beautiful place for things just to develop. And we all got along. And it was just with Steve Mankey, for those that don't know, is one of the another black belt we have, and man, Steve's got like 6 or 7 other black belts and other arts. And when I started, Steve was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and as he says it, I walked in day one into the inner sanctum. But I think it was all just because we're all relatively the same age, same background with sports, and um, it was just more of a kindred thing, more
Yeah.
than it was probably something that I deserved, to be honest. But literally the day that I walked into school, it looked like wrestling, but guys had gis on, and I would hear like a yelp and a tap every now and then. I'm like, oh, I'm home, and I literally knew it.
Yeah.
I literally knew it. And then I think Steve Berger, who I know you're trying to have on
Yeah. I'll definitely sit down with
soon.
Steve.
Steve invited me out that night. He was rolling with Brian Guidry, who you also have to have on,
Yeah.
and Brian. They invited me out, and we met out that night, and met Rodrigo and everybody else. Mike Rogers and Hal Goodman, Todd Fox, all the other black belts, the guys that are black belts now, and the original group of guys, and that was it. I never looked back, and that was like my brotherhood for the last 15 years at this point, maybe.
It's family.
Um, But I forget. I mean, those guys saw way more than I ever saw, and they were in it before me. But I forget how long I've been in the thing, and it was because of a T-shirt, and because of I was thinking about the T-shirts in my closet, and I need to get rid of these T-shirts. But those are the reasons I can't, because each one represents like this memory of what felt like this old school jiu-jitsu society, wild days. So again, referencing shows you've done, the Wild Days of MMA, or
Hmm.
what was that with Mike? I forget what that episode was called, but it was
Oh yeah, I call it the Wild
yeah, the
West. The
Wild
Wild West
West.
of MMA. It's
And
true.
he's seen way more than I've seen.
Crazy shit.
But just even in my time, it was freaking nuts. We'd walk in tournaments, and it would be like people would see the patch on the back of your gi, and it was like a gang just walked in, and people would just start turning the other way, like, don't look at me in the eyes. You
We don't
know,
want those
we
problems.
don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, fights would break out at tournaments. Every Brazilian that was in a tournament knew Rodrigo, and they knew he took a break. He's the playground legend.
Yeah, he really is.
Truly
In the
is.
whole city.
In the world.
He's a world
In the
champion
world.
at black belt.
Yeah, but it's so much deeper than that.
At
Like
the taught at the original Gracie Academy.
exactly.
Like
There you go.
knows all of those. He's a part of the
The
royal
legacy,
family.
and that's the thing, is that people in St. Louis don't always realize, or even some of the newer students, even on the team, don't realize, is he's absolute royalty. But the thing that the great players of jiu-jitsu and those with legacy realize is they know who he is.
Yeah.
He just didn't compete all the time in the end because he took a job in the finance world, or in stocks and everything, and then came back to the sport. But they all knew, like they knew that's that dude.
Hmm.
That's the boogeyman. What did John Wick call that dude? Baba Yoe or something. I don't know, Baba Yaya
I don't
in
remember.
Russian.
Mm.
He's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
He's truly the boogeyman.
When did he win Worlds at black belt? It's probably like it's been a little bit now, probably like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 7, but there's nothing more. Man, you know, it's not even humiliating. I don't feel humiliated when he beats me. I just feel like I'm a child.
I've never watched him roll.
It's you know,
It's next level.
he's just good, man. So maybe that's another reason I don't take myself that seriously, because if I'm decent at all, but I'm sure everybody feels that way about their master, right? I'm sure
But he has the accolades to prove it.
he does, truly he does. Every legitimate black belt. Okay, I take that back because that would be me patting myself on the back and assuming I'm just legitimate. But every black belt probably feels that way about their instructor if their instructor's legitimate.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and that's what I meant to say. But I think we can probably both agree that Tom the Blast is probably a legitimate black belt.
Pretty fucking legit.
He is, and
He's been working with Gordon Ryan since he was like 15.
literally, yeah. So let's just say that he goes and he goes over to Henzo's or something, and he decides to roll with Henzo. I mean, he might feel that Henzo's kind of like decent.
I would assume so.
I mean, that kind of puts things in perspective a little bit.
Oh, man, Henzo's that deal, man. He has an infectious smile.
He does, and again, so to be clear, I don't believe he even got his black belt from Henzo, but he's in the family, so I shouldn't say even from very legitimate people that got black belts from Henzo, but yeah, let's go to Henzo. Oh my God, I always kind of said if something happened to Rodrigo, where would I go? Like, who would I pledge,
Maybe Henzo.
pledge allegiance to? Because you don't want to be a Ronin.
You don't? You
No,
sure?
I don't.
Is that a bad thing?
I mean, yeah.
I kind of like the Ronin life.
Well, for me, no. For me, it is because I think, to me, the thing that's not appealing about that is not. I think you're in charge. I'm in charge of my own learning.
Yeah.
But I think that you need to have a place to go as well to continue that learning.
Yeah.
And
It's nice to have a home base. I'm a
sure,
master.
sure, it's like it's. I don't think it's any different than. I mean, I've lost one parent. What happens when you lose two? And that's happened to a lot of people. You probably just feel a little orphaned. Like
Yeah.
where's home? Where do you belong? Where do you go for direction? And you should never stop learning. Learning truly, and you said this one time. Learning just begins
Yeah.
when you hit a black belt.
It really does, man. The
Truly,
journey just begun.
yeah. And I've learned that completely, and I've begun to understand that. So I think it's important to always kind of have a master.
Yeah.
You know, and as a black man saying master,
Yeah.
that carries weight.
Yeah. It keeps you in check, though. But
It,
I
it
look at it from
does.
the martial art. I always think of like Asian culture, like master,
Sure,
like
exactly. Yeah,
samurai.
exactly. And I do, and that's where I'm coming from with it. But that's the power and credence I'm giving that phrase because as a black man, if I can say a word like that without even hesitating,
Right.
I give it even more power because that's what he means to me as an instructor and as a facilitator and somebody that gives direction.
Well, you call him your jujitsu father.
I
I mean,
do. I call it, yeah.
father's a
Yeah,
strong word.
it is, and I mean it when I call him my jujitsu father.
It's like he birthed your
He did. If
jiu-jitsu career.
without for him, I wouldn't have any of it. Literally,
Yeah.
I'd have none of it. I'd have no gift to give
Yeah.
at all for one of the greatest things in life that I know.
It's truly powerful.
So, I wouldn't want to be a Ronin because where's home base? But anyway, where would I go? So
Yeah, there's none.
I used to always say it'd be Salo because you get two for the price of one.
What do you mean by that?
Shanji,
Oh,
get
Sanji.
Salo and Sanji.
Yeah.
And I think they have a very similar style to Rodrigo. It's just that Salo is just smaller. It all came from the same place, with Rickson, and family. But and he's amazing. I love Salo. I love Shanji. Great people. Good relationships.
Yeah, super nice.
But man,
Salo
Henzo,
was just at Worlds just taking pictures with everybody.
oh man, he's phenomenal. But
But
when you spend 2 minutes around Henzo,
yeah.
he's just infectious, and you fall in love, and it's worth the price of admission to go to any seminar just just to be in the presence to hear the stories.
Yeah. When do you think we'll have another big seminar? It's been a little bit, right?
Not soon
I
enough.
mean, Henzo was here 3 years ago.
Yeah, not soon enough. Who would you like to come in?
Man, I feel like we had the two biggest. We had Rickson and then we had
Hmm.
Henzo come in. I'd like to have
We've
one.
had we've had Andre Gaval. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Having Andre in,
Andre.
and we've had Salo a couple
I'd
times.
like to get Rickson back in here.
Yeah, and when Salo came the first time, the thing that was great about that is that my boss at the time trained jiu-jitsu in Dallas, and I called him and said, "Hey, Salo's in town." He goes, "What are you doing at work?" And I was like, "Exactly." He's like, so he's like, "Bye. Just call me and tell me what you learned."
Yeah,
And I think I took the week off and just trained with Rodrigo and Salo,
nice.
which was amazing.
You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. But we talked earlier about Gordon Ryan coming to
Yeah,
Springfield,
that's what I was
which
gonna
is
say.
a
I think
few
that's
hours
who
away.
I'd like to have here, but at this point,
Yeah, and a guy I competed with my first year.
or Tom DeBlast. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be great too. This guy Michael Zanga owns BGJ Fanatics, a co-owner there, and I competed against him my first year as a black belt, and he's done some videos with Gordon. He says that he is, because the social media aspect of that, he's a cocky.
People don't
And
like that, but he's just selling, man. He's
that's
just
all, it's man,
it's just
that's all it is.
PR.
It's all it is
I bet
PR.
he's super respectful.
Dude, I heard he's amazing. I heard he's so nice.
I bet he's just so fucking. He just talks that shit, man, to
He's
sell
just
tickets.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's
He's
it.
Conor McGregor of the jiu-jitsu world,
It's Eddie
but he
Bravo.
backs it up.
It's Eddie Bravo. It's. Do you really think that Eddie Bravo thinks the gi is absolutely antiquated? The guy's got a black belt in the gi from Jean-Jacques Machado. It's as legitimate as it gets.
He knows what the deal is,
Yeah,
man. But
it's marketing.
yeah,
It's marketing. Hey, I'm going to rename this position, which I think is great.
he
Because
was so smart with what he did. He
I
created a
agree.
whole system, put all these crazy names to it, calling things zombie and different
Yeah.
things like that. Like,
Yeah.
people love it.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's over the top,
Yeah.
but who cares? You renamed, jiu-jitsu positions that already have names, whatever. It's marketing. But what I do think, not only is it genius to go, okay, let me ride the wave of this biggest jiu-jitsu event in my life other than getting my black belt and beat Gracie. Why wouldn't you capitalize on that if you're looking for a way to make it? You'd be stupid not
And
to.
he's made it.
And he's made it. And off of marketing and being counterculture, okay, I think
Yeah, he really attacked the Nogi
he
culture.
did. He did. And that's great.
I think he almost grew the Nogi culture. I don't think there
he
would be.
single-handedly.
That's what I was gonna say.
Single-handedly.
If it weren't for him, we would have no Nogi culture.
Until Danaher came along.
Yes.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
carried it until then.
But the question is, would
Probably
Danaher
not.
have come
Probably
along?
Maybe, but
Maybe.
maybe. But either way, he carried it until then.
Yeah.
and he's still there.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a ton of merit in the fact that, like, one of the positions he calls spiderweb, which is a very hard position to explain to people if you're just sitting around talking about, well, when you're kind of inverted, sweeping somebody from an armbar, putting them here, or you could just call it spiderweb, and then it's like, oh,
Makes sense.
okay, I know what you're talking about, because that one position is defined by that name, and I think that's missing sometimes in the sport, because it makes it easy sometimes just to communicate. Because if you don't have that phrase for it, then you need to spend back to when we talked about having a consistent instructor.
Hmm.
So we can be at a tournament. Oh, there you go. We were at Worlds, and I never finished a sentence when I was coaching you.
Right.
You just nodded your head like, I already know where you're going. I already know what you're saying. And that's a beautiful thing about the sport when you spend time with people and you start to develop the same language and the same mindset, and you already know.
Yeah, language is super important.
Yeah.
Who's TJ?
TJ Doso?
Yeah, well, who's his striking coach? I don't know why I'm blanking on it.
Bang.
Bang, yeah, Bang
Dwayne
Muay Thai.
Ludwig.
Dwayne
Yeah,
Bang.
Ludwig.
Ludwig, that's what he does, right?
Yeah,
Like
they do, yeah.
they'll put a name to like a whole combo,
Yeah,
and he'll
exactly.
he'll just be like whatever the fucking name is,
Sure.
and it's like
Sure.
a 5-punch combo.
Right, like
You-
CrossFit. We're gonna do Nancy today or some crap, right?
Exactly.
Everybody knows what it means.
It's
A
just-
day, B day, C day.
It's a short
There
hand.
you go.
Yeah.
We looked at Joe Jitsu. Say, hey Joe, what day is it? C day. He knows to get right down to it.
Exactly.
In a match, yeah.
It's developing that language.
It is, and I think it's very important. It's a huge part of the sport. I was so Eddie Bravo's got a DVD out where he kind of did a parody on MTV Cribs.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this?
The DVD?
Yeah,
No, I haven't.
Twister video DVD,
Okay.
and he talks. It's named after his move, which is a wrestling move.
It is a wrestling move.
It's a
The first
wrestling
time I
move.
heard, I was like, that's a wrestling
It's
move.
it's a guillotine, right? Wrestling guillotine.
That's all it is.
Because he was a wrestler.
I equate everything to wrestling though.
Yeah.
That was the first language of movement I
Oh,
learned.
absolutely. And he's got some Easter eggs on the DVD. It's a great DVD because it really does reference MTV Cribs and how winning that one match exploded the world for him. And, his gi sponsorship money goes here and the supplement money goes there and this big house, the jiu-jitsu got him, and it's just all a big joke. And it's great that he's making fun of himself. He's being self-depreciating, but he's got this Easter egg on there, and it's he used to help write for the Man Show, and
Bravo did?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. He got in through Rogan,
Did
but
not know that.
the skit that got him that was his character Quatoof, and now I'm realizing I am old school jujitsu, and it's this kind of a wigger,
Yeah.
and the guy's got 4 teeth, so Quatoof,
Okay.
and Society tournament, and I was like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. He said, hey, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I want to talk to you about Quatoof, and he got the most serious look on his face, like he was afraid for his life.
Bro.
Yeah, it was hilarious because, and then when I realized that's the look he had, then I played it up a little bit, like I was angry, like I was an angry black man about it, but I was really just gonna tell him I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
'Cause it was. And then after you got the serious look, like, are you gonna hurt me? And then I started laughing, and he started laughing. Like
He's not a big guy.
He's not at all. But it was truly funny. So go to YouTube, look up Quatoof. It was funny. It's interesting. I'm sure I have the DVD somewhere.
I'm
But,
gonna have to look that one up.
on that same DVD, he's also got in the Easter egg. He's got Joe Rogan's best friend,
His best friend.
the other comedian.
Brendan Schaub, Brian Callen.
He's got Brian Callen on there. And Ed Clay, who used to own Gamus, who was one of my first sponsors as well. They're all in a hotel room, and they're doing impressions of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors. And Callen is freaking hilarious.
He's a funny dude.
He is, but this is before I even knew who Callen was.
Yeah.
And then you get exposed to like how small your circle truly is, or how big, I don't know,
Yeah.
degrees of separation.
It's not very many, man.
Yeah,
I'm one handshake away from like Joe Rogan and all those guys.
Yeah.
I'm really close.
For sure. You're the guy to know. So
I am.
so-
Just
so-
for people listening, I'm pretty important. I'm a big deal.
right, he smells of
Just
cheese
joking.
and leather-bound books. So I was going to ask you before I mentioned that I wanted to ask you some questions. So I always
Yeah.
think about this when you're podcasting, like how come nobody asked Adam questions?
Because I'm running the show.
This is true, but you know me and making people uncomfortable.
That's cool.
Um,
Let's do it. Because I was gonna wrap it up. So I'll let you take over for a second.
So let's talk about, since we're podcasting, what drove this? What was the thing that spoke to you about podcasting? What made you want to get that truth out there? Where did it come from?
Dude, it's funny that you asked me this because I was just talking to somebody about this. But podcasting changed my life. So. Like working in the corporate world, the 9 to 5, you're in the office all day. Dude, I would just sit there for like hours on end, just listening to Joe Rogan, listening to the MFCEO Project, the Model Health Show. Like I was just a sponge for learning, and there's no other platform in the world like that.
Agree.
So like, especially as far as like the health and wellness space, which is something I'm very passionate about, like the current real-time information is all being like distributed through podcast or like just through like the books that these people are writing. So the information can take 20 to 30 years to actually like assimilate into like the educational system. So I'm learning all this information like real time, and I just saw how valuable it was, and then also just like how real it was. And there's no like middleman telling you like you can't say this. I need you to talk about this. It was just like I was just listening to all these conversations like you're like a fly on the wall, and you're just gaining all this information. I'm just like, I love that.
I agree. It's a pretty cool thing to think about. For instance, like we're all influenced by Rogan and his podcast.
Yeah.
It's I mean, he's the godfather of it.
He's the fucking Oprah for men.
Yeah, he truly is.
Yeah.
And man, talking about the level of responsibility, truly.
Dude, I've listened to so many hours of
Oh
him.
yeah, I agree.
It's just like I've just been studying the greats. I have this habit of like I just want to study high performers.
But you do that for jiu-jitsu, right?
Exactly.
So why wouldn't you? Or
And he is
any
a high
great
performer.
businessman, yeah. And you think about when he first started in his house,
Yeah.
in the first studio, then the second studio, and just we were talking earlier about somebody's post on Facebook and how nobody starts with that apartment with a TV in every room and furniture that completely, matching furniture or
Yeah.
any, maybe some mismatched silverware and some paper plates and this and that.
But that's the story.
But
I
that's
love
the
it.
story, and that's how it happens. And so to see where he's come from and how he's able to build, you know, from just having his friends on in the
Yeah.
beginning to now being oh my God, it's amazing the reach he has to having. I don't want to say legitimate because everybody you have is legitimate. Everybody he has is legitimate, but to where it's a platform that people have to be on in order to be heard, in order to have also level legitimacy, because he's a legitimate source. It's amazing
Yeah.
to see your podcast, as we talked about before, go from you're now at the point where you can kind of pick and choose,
A little bit.
you
Yeah.
know, and it'll get better.
Yeah. And then the more people say yes.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because now, okay, well, I mean, you can pick and choose who you pick by going and looking at what are their numbers on the socials,
Yeah.
what's their span, what's their reach, and it all starts somewhere, and that's a pretty cool thing for me to see and for me to watch, and even cooler because I feel like as a person and as a friend, I'm invested in you. So it's great to see your friends accomplishing things that are important to them and they're part of their goals.
Yeah.
So I love. I don't always talk about it. I'll go through phases where I'll be like, hey, I listened to this one,
Hmm.
you know.
I'm
Or,
putting out so many. I don't expect everybody to listen to
oh,
them all.
I know you don't, but and I probably listen
That's
more
by
than
design.
I listen more than I let on. But then when I do, I'll try to say something, like even if it's like in passing,
Yeah.
and I always try to say something supportive, even if it's people I'm not a fan of necessarily.
Yeah.
But I understand the importance of having it out there.
Yeah.
So I always support that. So whether I like a person or not, I think it's important that you have them on.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. And when I was in LA, I had a friend tell me, he's like, they call Joe Rogan a kingmaker because he'll fucking like
Sure.
he'll turn you into a king. Like
Yeah.
he'll change the
Yeah, he
entire
can.
dynamic of your
Right.
business or whatever it
He
is that you're
can.
doing.
Because people are now going to go immediately look. They're going to go right to Instagram and go, who's this person?
Well, what's Faraz's last name? I don't know
Sahabi.
Faraz.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he came on there. He came on there specifically, like I don't know who the fuck they think they're trying to fool, but they came on. He went on there specifically to promote the Tim Tam,
Right.
and it worked.
Yeah.
They were sold out for
I'm still waiting on mine. It's taking me like 3 weeks now.
exactly. It takes like a month to get it because just the
They're in demand, yeah.
demand is so high, and they did that on purpose, right? Like
They knew what they were doing.
yeah, exactly. And he was like, "Oh, they're not paying me for this, and maybe they're not paying for like maybe he's just trying to help people out." But at the end of the day, like he will make your entire fucking career. It's just like when Oprah will put you on her book list,
Right. Or yeah, I mean, Dr. Phil. Right. Or
who was just on Rogan.
yeah, that was an amazing podcast.
Amazing
Amazing
episode. Holy cow.
So, okay, all right. So Oprah. So Dr. Phil, Nate Burris or Nate somebody with the B. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I remember seeing him there. And then I know he had like some stuff at like Target or Kmart, like decorating stuff. I mean, she's a kingmaker. Like you said, the book club. I mean, it's amazing the influence that some people have, and how they just completely can jump off your career. Back to Rogan, and I think I probably for weeks put off listening to Dr. Phil
yeah,
because of the stigma.
Hmm.
Amazing podcast.
It's one of the best episodes I've heard.
Amazing podcast. In my top 5.
Yeah, I wanted to listen to it because Joe is really good at getting to the person.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like getting them comfortable, like
Sure.
trying to pull out who the real person is. He's
agree.
really good at that.
It was an amazing podcast, and my favorite though maybe Teddy Atlas.
Who's Teddy Oz? Was he a boxer?
Yeah, he
Boxer
well
trainer?
boxing trainer.
Boxer trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Justin put me on that one. I listened to it. It was pretty good.
Maybe my favorite. It's
His
it's
dad was a doctor.
yes, that
Yeah.
one. It was a little difficult at times.
It was a long one.
It was, but it was difficult
Some good
only
nuggets.
because Teddy kind of sounds like Ray Romano a little bit, which for a couple hours can be a little taxing.
Yeah.
And he goes off in these small little rants as if we haven't. But I don't know that I've ever heard anything as passionate and guttural, where you could feel the emotion of a person talking. Where at
Yeah.
times when he started talking about his dad and what he learned in perspective, it like literally, I think I heard, where you wanted to cry with him,
Yeah.
and which is an amazing response. If you can invest yourself in something like that. Um, and I saved that one, and I will go back and listen to it again.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to that podcast. That was for me one that hit me pretty hard,
Yeah.
and not just because of my dad, but also just because of like you said, Joe does a great job at getting to the person, and it starts off so awkwardly, um, and then it just kind of finds its flow because that's just Teddy though. Teddy's just kind of awkward in his own way, and then
Yeah.
he finds his sea legs, but he just starts talking, and when it starts. And you're like, I don't understand. Like you're trying to figure it out because he just
Right.
starts talking. Like, what are you talking about? I don't get what's happening. And then it's just all of a sudden like, oh my God, this is good. By the
Yeah.
time you figure it out, and the guy that wrote Fight Club, Chuck, but not Bednarik.
I
He's a
don't know his
linebacker.
name, but that was a good episode too.
Pachark, but I forget how to say his last name. But that was also maybe the best job I thought Rogan's ever done at being an interviewer because he had to work a little bit
Hmm.
because they were just kind of missing each other, which happens.
Yeah.
You miss each other in conversations, and he had to work a little bit. And he had a little bit of misinformation in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it turns into I think a really good podcast.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting to see him kind of traverse, if you will, that
Yeah.
rocky terrain and get through that, and that was kind of fun to watch. So my whole point is, you know, my question was, what made you get into it? I can see from that whole thing, like, man, that'd be fun. It'd be
Yeah.
an interesting way to kind of just get around and understand, and try to get to know people and the human condition a little more. What
Dude,
makes
I've
people think?
connected with so many people
Yeah.
and it's had so many interesting conversations. I've had conversations with people I would never have conversations with before.
But have you ever had one you just want to end?
Yeah. Yeah. There's
You don't
definitely
have to say names,
I'm
but
not gonna say any names, but there's definitely times to where I'm just like, especially like towards the beginning, where like I've been sitting down with people and I'm just, all right, well, in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, we're just gonna wrap this up right now, and then I look down, I'm like, all right, well, we're only like 30 minutes in.
because you start going, well, I don't want to.
I'm like, we're
I'm
just gonna
sorry.
fucking wrap this
Right.
up. I'm done.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to steal your time. I'm trying to think of the phrase you always use when you when
Oh, I want to be
out
respectful
of
of your
respect
time.
for your time. See, I do listen. I want to be respectful of your time. Like this dude right here is trying to get out. Which is legitimate. I get that, but yeah, I always, because in my head I'm all going through all these thoughts. Like, is he just? Are you ready to get out of there?
Sometimes I'm
It's,
not. I just really do want to be
Oh, I
respectful of
know,
their
and I
time.
agree, but it just in my head because I have that sense of humor. I start laughing at myself, going, "Yeah, that's probably how I would literally say to somebody like, well, okay, that was great, but
It's time to wrap it up.
it's that rap, like Dave Chappelle,
So
wrap it up."
usually for the listeners and even for you, I'll let you guys in. Like if I really feel like you can tell if I was ready to end it early because I'll ask them like, so what's next? Because we're moving forward. Like I'm less worried about like the
You're
past
not
and
in
what's
the mo
happening. I'm
Yeah,
like, all right,
yeah,
so what's next? Because like that's like my last
yeah.
question.
So what do you got next? What's going
What's
on?
coming up for you? Let's tell the folks what's coming up, and then you can tell them how to get a hold of you, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, what are your socials?
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, there's two really in mind, and one of them was just my fault. So like, and it happened on the podcast, like Jeremy Johnson,
Hmm.
and it wasn't necessarily anything with him. I just don't think I was necessarily as prepared as I should have been for that conversation. But it just kind of came to like almost just like a natural stopping point in the conversation. And that's just where I could get better to keep it going. But like I was like, do we stop? We'll wrap it up right now. But I'm like, no, I don't want to wrap it up because I looked at it at the time and like we weren't at time yet.
What were you at?
We were probably like 15 minutes short or so
Of
of an hour.
okay,
Like the goal is an hour.
okay,
The goal is an hour, and like even now, like I'm trying to get better with like being okay with like 45 minutes, and that's only just because some people are just so busy.
sure, sure.
But I try to hit at least an hour for all of them. Like we're gonna go for probably like 2 fucking hours. We're at like an hour 45 right now.
Really, but I think we, do. Yeah, but that happens when you just have a natural
It's just
conversation with people,
flowing,
right?
man.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, yeah.
flowing. But
God,
yeah, man, Rogan was a huge influence. There's a few others, but like I've really studied Rogan. I think he's had a huge influence on my style. I mean, I definitely chose the style of podcast based off of him. Like I like
hmm
the conversations. I do the shorter, I mean, usually like an hour, hour and a half format, but I like the conversational format. It's just better. I found it's not like a formal interview, but I'm
sure,
still interviewing.
right. I think what's important is getting to know the whole person.
Yeah,
Yeah, rather than just one aspect of a person.
and just keeping it open. It's like I don't
Yeah.
have to have this like set agenda. It's like, man, maybe what you just said sparked the question. Let's go down that rabbit hole.
So when that happens, though, when I'm on the other side listening, and we joked before about having a notepad,
Yeah,
I always go, God, I'd have to have a notepad.
I got to start getting. I
Young
thought about
Jamie,
that.
write that down.
I'm gonna start bringing a notepad on certain things because sometimes I'll talk to people and like they'll spark a good thought and then like I'll forget it.
Yeah, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But then when do you know to write it down? That's the thing that always gets me because you have full intent of going in that direction, or if you stop maybe and write it down, then you feel like you're missing what they're saying though too.
Yeah,
So it's when you need a young Jamie that needs to just know you,
that helps. That helps. It's a skill. It's all a skill.
right?
It all builds.
So we're gonna need your kids to grow up really quick and start understanding and writing shit down.
I need something.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at like listening to people and still holding my thought. Like I'll be looking at you and I'll just be like, I'm thinking something.
Like in panic.
I'm just like, or I'll just tell myself like, I hope they keep talking so that thought will
It
come
comes
back.
back. Yeah. Which is what I did earlier. Just talk enough that it comes back.
That happens a lot.
Oh, I know. I
One
know.
of my favorite podcasts with Joe was Ben Askren.
Oh yeah,
Did you
yeah. I
listen to
listened
that
to that.
Askren
Yeah.
podcast?
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. I didn't like Askren up until then,
Really.
to be honest with you. He was just his personality is not very likable.
I think he's just a wrestler.
Yeah, and I've just heard stories like firsthand
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
Like EJ actually kind of shared a little bit
I
whenever
hear
we
you. Yeah.
talked, and that episode hasn't come out yet, but I've just heard some stories about the guy.
But what's funny though is when you talk to another wrestler, you go, he's just a wrestler. You go, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's just just kind of that grinding personality.
yeah, and he knows he's the shit.
Yeah.
But he's just super. I didn't realize like how much of like the mental side that he takes into account. Like he's very like analytical and
Sure.
he's just super
I agree.
smart.
Yeah. But I think that's man. I mean, God, growing up in Chicago at that time when I was there, wrestling was freaking amazing. The high school wrestling, the people we had around. We go to a state tournament. You know,
Yeah, Illinois is a hell of a state for
it
wrestling.
is. It was amazing. Whether Matt Hughes and being in the locker room with him, or it's got Jihad Hamden who was at Michigan, or the Williams brothers. Joe, Steve, and I'm trying to think of the other brother's name. Iowa, and
Mm.
3 and 4 time state champions, and Joey Gilbert, who fought in the UFC and was Clay Guida's first coach, and
Mm.
you know, uh, and my point to all this was just thinking about how odd great wrestlers can be,
They are.
and just those little things, like all the ones that are really, really, really good are all just different.
Yeah,
And like maybe not stepping on lines when they're on the mat, or just these
a
weird,
little quirky.
yeah, idiosyncrasies that separate them from other people, and probably more than in any other sport, but probably very akin to like a hockey goalie.
Who's that?
A hockey goalie.
Oh, a hockey
Yeah,
goalie.
hockey goalie that are
Mm.
just a different breed.
Different breed of person.
Different
Yeah,
breed of person.
yeah,
But you kind of got to be, because all you have to depend on is you.
yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing to teach, which for me is a different dynamic in my house, as you saw earlier,
Yeah.
with my youngest versus my older one. uh, at the tail of two cities with my two sons, where one excels, they both excel in any sport they're in, but they're more naturally gravitate toward. One gravitates toward individual sports, the other one gravitates more towards team sports.
Hmm.
But they need the opposite for their personalities. Hickson
Right.
needs team sports to socialize more because he'd just be happy being an individual sport and depending on him. Peyton is great, excels at team sports, but needs the opportunities that an individual sport provides in order to rely on self.
Right. It's an important skill.
It's a very important skill. And so it's so much fun to watch them be in the other that they need and watch them blossom
Yeah.
and grow up in front of your eyes. It's an
Yeah.
amazing, amazing thing. And to see them have success. It's just as much fun, though, to see them in their arena, though, too.
Yeah, like
And
when they're in their comfort
to
zone.
do their thing, yeah. But it's just fun to watch them grow as people. Is that you or me?
It has to be you, because my phone. I hope it's not me, because
I think it's you.
because I'm trying
Because
to.
mine's on silent.
Well, I'm trying to record right now, and if somebody's calling me, that means we're not recording. Who the fuck is calling me at 11:30 at night?
It might also mean you're not on airplane mode.
I put it on airplane mode and do not disturb. I thought
I
anyway.
don't think you did. That was you.
Tracy, I'm about to be so pissed off.
But as long as that's recording, you'll
Well,
be
that's
fine.
recording, but I really like that to be there
know.
too. It happens. The video's
It
not the
does.
most important thing. It's probably me.
100%. I definitely put mine on silent before. It's all right. But yeah, it's that's you.
It's me.
It is you.
Who the hell is
It's Deja upstairs.
Uh,
You're not gonna do nothing to her.
I'm not gonna do a goddamn
You're not
thing.
gonna do nothing to her. You
I'm
can
just
talk,
gonna
say all that you want to say.
I'm just not gonna be
Yeah.
happy.
So
Oh.
there you go. There's a good opportunity. There's a stopping point for you.
Is that the stopping point
That's
for
a
us?
stopping point for you right there. That's good.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up then.
I want to be respectful of your time.
Oh, thanks, dude.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, we'll wrap this up then. I'll leave the floor to you then. If there's anything that you would like, parting words with the listeners, if you want to plug anything, socials, sponsors, gyms, anything, it's up to you. I'll leave the floor to you if you had anything else that you wanted to say.
If you want to find me, just find Adam and you'll find me. But as he looks at his
I
phone,
don't think it's my phone.
I think it's your phone. But I don't need to plug me necessarily. But be great. Come see us. Come train. But man, as long as you're training, that's the most important thing. Just get out there and experience jiu-jitsu wherever you go. Experience it for your life. It's a life changer. One of the best decisions I ever made. Whether the gym's not full of just all alpha males, there's some in there, but it's full of, man, we've got so many more regular people, for lack of
100%.
lack of a better way to say
People
it.
from all walks of life.
Doctors, lawyers, ditch diggers, roofers. Sitting against the wall after training, you've got the guy that may have mugged the businessman and the lawyer representing the businessman and the cop that arrested him
And the actual businessman.
and the businessman and the judge that tried him, all sitting against the same wall and laughing because they didn't know it was that big dummy that did it. And and it's an amazing thing that will change lives. And I don't care where you go, just go.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you wrestled before or not. Most people haven't. And just go do it and change your life. And I think that's what's most important for me. And even if you don't come train with me, just stop and say hi, have a conversation, and just be good. Don't be an asshole. That's what I care about.
I can dig it. And if anybody does want to get a hold of Tracy, I'll put those links in the show notes, so they will be there. All right, everybody. Until next time.
Play that funky music I always hear now.
Oh, yeah. It'll be there.
Yeah.